Hello from Carolina, Bob out of Charlotte, North Carolina. A single man, as you can see behind me. You know, once I was married, everything was really getting stuff cleaned up. Now that I live alone, it's not that big a deal, but I try not to be nasty. Anyway, this video is going to be about attention deficit disorder, something that I've had for years and years and years. People would not state this is true, but several of my managers, when I worked for particular companies, found that I had severe ADHD, hyperactive when I was a child, but as I got older, the hyperactive is more just attention deficit disorder. The real face of this comes down to lack of being able to concentrate, basically not being able to stay on a task, pretty much memory's not quite the way it should be. I could keep going with 1,000 different symptoms of this. Anyway, what I was going to say is that my psychiatrist I go to for another disorder, mental health disorder, I was talking to him about the fact that I'd gotten off of cigarettes a long time ago and had been just trying to put enough caffeine in me to maintain. And he looked at me. Never, now check this out, never diagnosed me, knew virtually nothing except for the fact that I had bipolar. Came right out, looked straight at me. He said, "You're ADD." And I was looking at him like this. And he said, "Yep." And he said, "You crave stimulants. Most ADD people do." And all of a sudden, all this was full circle. I thought, yep, that's it. I've always craved stimulants. Why? When I get those into my system, I feel normal. That's why when I was smoking and drinking coffee and taking some caffeine drinks or pills, that I was able to maintain. You know, I had that brightness about me, being able to think straight, concentrate, and do the things, staying on task. Well, I quit smoking 3 years ago, and have been a mess ever since. So, luckily, they've come out with what they call vaping. I remember when I first quit smoking, I tried the e-cig. Was never that impressed with it. It tasted like crap. When I'd smoke it, I would and get just a little bit of vapor to come out of my mouth. And, you know, when you're doing that, it's going so deep into your lungs, actually deeper than when I smoked cigarettes. And obviously, I kind of got away from that and went back to smoking. Then finally, I realized at my age, it's time to quit. So vaping now is so vastly different. I ordered a Aspire Spinner 2. It's a vape pen, and now it's pretty interesting where you have a tank with your coil and a little bit of cotton on there, and what you do is you put your e-juice or juice down into the tank, okay, put everything, put the top back on it, and you got a little button for your battery, and off you go. The one I'm getting has variable speeds on it, battery settings, and I hate to say this, but this is exactly what I plan on doing. I'm going to start out back on nicotine. I don't like it. It kind of bothers me a little bit. I'd shake the nicotine habit. Now, will this get me back to smoking cigarettes? I doubt that. Seriously. Cigarettes, pardon me for a minute. Cigarettes, I never liked. I smoked for years, and people kept saying, "Bob, you don't like to smoke anyway. Why don't you just quit?" And I said, "Because of the nicotine." I smoked for the nicotine, guys. I really did. I hated smoking. It wore my lungs out. I stunk like an ashtray. I felt like crap. Couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. Be around women, and they would stand far back from me. And I had some just right open, said, "You stink." I remember too with smoking cigarettes. I was At Black Hawk Hardware here in Charlotte, I was working for Lundberg Window and Siding, and I'd go out and take smoke breaks. And I was out taking a smoke break, and I saw this lady with her baby or child in a carriage. So I went way out of my way to be as far away from her as possible with a cigarette. I wasn't even close to her. I want you to know that lady turned and looked straight at me, and she said, "How dare you?" I said, "Excuse me? Smoke when I have a child in my carriage." And I said, "I'm sorry." You know, she goes, "You should be. That's inconsiderate." I was like, what the? You know, I was like, oh my God. You know, back when I smoked when I was really young, nobody ever would say that. Ever. So cigarettes began, and I will always say they're going out. I would not say my daughter's generation, I think it's going to start to come less and less. My daughter is about 22. I'm going to have to figure it out. She's got a birthday coming up. I got to figure out how old she's going to be. I think she'll be 22 or 23. I'm not sure. Her generation, and when my daughter gets married and has a child, that generation, you'll notice cigarettes are going to fade out. A lot of your tobacco companies are going to have to start getting into the vape. Most unfortunately, vapors will be in a situation where there'll be a lot of governmental regulations, taxation. You know, I hate to see that happen. Right now, it's purest sense. Vaping's so cool. You know, people get involved with it. They do their coils. You know, they just have a good time with it. What they call blowing clouds, which I really technically don't care much about, but your younger people like to do that. See how much of a vapor cloud will come out of the pipe. So back on nicotine, you know, nicotine always helped me to stay focused. I've been online, researched this for years. Nicotine in small amounts really doesn't hurt the body at all. It is a stimulant, no different than caffeine or an amphetamine. Now, a doctor had me on Adderall. At the time, though, I'll tell you what was happening with the Adderall. I smoked cigarettes, I drank a lot of coffee, and I took Adderall. You better believe I was jacked up, like jacked up is, you know, I was like, my eyes were going like that. You know, I was so jacked up. They took me off the Adderall pretty quickly. And you see now, it made sense to me that the caffeine, nicotine really jacked me up with that Adderall. Nowadays, really, if I go to my psychiatrist and I say, look, my ADD, I need something like Adderall, something similar to it, no. They really don't do that much anymore with Adderall because it's addictive. What I laugh about is so is nicotine, so is caffeine. You know, I mean, I'll tell you straight out 100,000 times, I don't want to go back to nicotine, but I have no choice. I have no choice whatsoever. So vaping tends to be a little more safer. I'm not saying it's 100% safer, but it's more safer than the multitude of carcinogens in a burning cigarette. So that's just me and my ADD and stimulant junkie, as I am. Just to let you know, I'm putting a face on ADD. Thanks for listening.